Hey guys, I just wanted to share a little reflection that I had um, in a chat with Bhakti Markswamy, and we analyzed a text, a very popular text from the Bhagavad Gita, which everybody knows, 2:13, and I guess we kind of read it with a sense of um, yeah, okay, this is kind of basic. Um, but it was really nice that he asked us to reflect and extrapolate something a little bit deeper. And so I thought it would be nice to make a short clip just sharing some of those little reflections that I had. So there's one part in the purport where Srila Prabhupada says the stars can be compared to the living entities, and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. And I thought this was a very beautiful imagery because how it made me feel was this sense of equality, um, that all the stars are the same, all the stars around the sun or the moon, even though some are further and brighter and bigger and smaller in like scientific reality. It doesn't really feel like that when you think of it in terms of like just that image of, people, souls, just souls in this world and God, because, you know, it just gave this image of like equality, and all the stars are equal to God, to the sun and moon, and accessible in space. There's just all of these stars, all of these little pieces of Him um, that are equally as beautiful and as bright just for existing in the sky like that. And it gave this feeling also to me of like no obstacles between us and Him. This feeling of just like openness and freedom, and still spaciousness, space to exist with everyone all together, and just very kind of open and accessible to God, and this feeling of possibility because of that. I guess space kind of gives you that kind of like feeling of possibility. So that was a really nice way to think of it, when like all of the matter or whatever kind of things that we have here, that people, things, whatever, all these disturbing factors might kind of get in the way of feeling like that. Um, and the second uh, phrase that I reflected on was another part where Srila Prabhupada says that these fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental, only a small piece. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life of bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. So I thought that was kind of cool because I really experienced that, and I had a little realization of that earlier today, because like I was scrolling on one of my old profiles on Instagram, on social media, and I found um you know the feed was so different to my current feeds. It was really beautiful. There was like so much art and symmetry and excellent curation. Just all of the images that were coming up were just so beautiful next to each other, and so deep and artistic, and like uh, curiously spiritual, like so much mysticism and kind of like alchemical art, um, but kind of a lot of space, and a kind of a sad mood. There's kind of a dim heaviness about it. Even if the pictures weren't that heavy, it just kind of felt like that. And I realized that, that was how I felt before I really had a lot of spiritual knowledge, or really started reading the Vedas. Whereas now, I feel like how it is that, I'm just pretty much more happy, like, and not so stressed and confused, because the transcendental knowledge I have is just so clearing. It's just cleared so much of my confusion. Whereas in that time, I was really, really seeking, really, really looking, really, really trying to understand God and what was beyond me in the spiritual world. Like, what is God? And, what is going on with this, you know, uh, sacred geometry and alchemy and like all these deep religious things. So that kind of seeking was kind of helping me to try and see God in things. And so I think I had much more of an eye for beauty in nature and in art and in people and in expressions and people trying to explore and find God and find something spiritual in that way. Now I don't think I have so much of a physical eye for spiritual beauty in that sense. It's kind of Indianized sense of beauty and not so focused on that, I guess. Um, but I was just very aware of that from that phrase in the purport. Just made me realize that. So yeah, even though I have now knowledge and peace and understanding, and I would say more happier, I felt like my expressions and my vision of trying to find God was much more beautiful, like aesthetically um, confident and beautiful at that time. I find that quite interesting. Alright, I just wanted to share that. If anybody has anything interesting to comment on that, I'd be interested to hear.